The fearsome bumps of Sebring International Raceway are set to test the best of Pirelli GT4 America as we get set to go for the third stop on the 2025 calendar. Welcome to a hot Central Florida. Sunny skies overhead, temperatures skyrocketing into the mid-90s Fahrenheit, 47 degrees Celsius, with no shortage of humidity in the air. 60 minutes of arduous racing coming up in the field already. Starting to roll out for the formation lap. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside, and it's Amanda Busick down in the pit lane for us. One of the most hotly contested races every single weekend of SRO America Racing, Pirelli GT4 America. You just know it's going to put on a show. Calvin, we're about ready to do it Sebring style here this evening.
Yeah, massive entry as always amongst the three classes. Great championship battles already developing this early in the 2025 championship season. And this may be the ultimate test here at Sebring. The racetrack itself, then the heat that we're experiencing here this weekend is quite extraordinary. Ambience in the real temperature range of mid-90s, real feel in terms of how it feels to you is over 100, and the cockpit temperatures are soaring as well.
It will be a test of endurance for all involved. Kai Van Berlo on pole position for ACI Motorsports. He'll have Max Hewitt debuting in the series to his outside. Second row belongs to Gresham Wagner and Braden Arthur from JMF Motorsports. Then to the third row, Jonathan Neudorf, his teammate from JMF, starts next to Kevin Boehm in a car he'll share with Kenton Cook, who was just on track moments ago in GT World Challenge America. Danny Dashelski, Tony Gaples back in row 4. Colin Garrett and Tony McIntosh will share row number 5. Back to row 6, the M-Class pole sitter Laura Hayes continuing her strong run of form. She'll share that row with Hannah Greenmeyer for Heart of Racing. To the 7th row, Sam Craven for Random Vandals next to Michael Origema from NOLA Sport. Row 8, Kurt Swearingen and James Clay set to go. Then in the 9th row, it's Alex Garcia for Skip Barber next to the Rafa Racing Team's Anthony Gerasi. 10th row of the grid, James Walker Jr. and Alex Vogel in a BMW and McLaren respectively. Tim Savage, second weekend in this championship this year for Pro Sport Competition, alongside Paul Sparta. Then in row number 12, it's Tyler Stone and Joe Catania in a pair of BMW M4s. Row 13, another BMW in the form of Judson Holt and Sam Owen in the Porsche for McLaren for OGH Motorsports. Eddie Killeen for Dome Motorsport. Farhan Siddiqui debuting this weekend, at least for the series season that is, alongside an Adrian Comstock out back in the Archangel Motorsports Aston Martin. That's how they'll line up, getting ready to go for the first of 2 races of the weekend. 3.7 miles, 17 turns, and of course the bumps of Sebring International Raceway. That's challenge enough before you factor in the heat and humidity, plus the tight competition of Pirelli GT4 America. This figures to be wild.
It's going to be a battle out there in so many ways this afternoon. It's an interesting dynamic where you have 3 classes, and sometimes they're all got equal speed, so they're fighting each other, not always for class position, but trying to move their car forward in the overall standings, maybe create a gap to a competitor a little bit deeper in the pack. So it's fun to watch, and it's going to be awfully tough out there. Peak of the day, 94 degrees ambient. I'm probably going to stay there for the next 60 minutes.
Great stories on the front row. Kai Van Berlo on the Rover pole position. He was set to give up a career in motorsports for a career in finance, but got coaxed back to do a partial season with ACI. He'll start on pole. Max Hewitt making his series debut, having started the season in the single driver GT America format, up against a relatively small field. Here, a massive field, and he still starts on the front row. They enter the VP acceleration zone, and there's the green flag. It's Porsche and Aston starting on that front row, and give the advantage to the Porsche driver, Kai Van Berlo, who grabbed pole by nearly 0.3 of a second earlier today. That's a massive gulf in the context of this championship. He scampers away to the lead of the race. Wagner looking aggressive now, trying to grab second spot away from Hewitt. That leaves the door open around the outside, and Neudorf is pouncing. He goes through, way up and over the curb, and something might be amiss. He might have damaged something as that car went off track and pulls into a safe area.
Wow. really launched over the curb there. I think he just got out in the grey. Now he tries to join mid-pack. That's created chaos in the middle of the field.
I don't know if that had to do with him rejoining. Michael Auriemma in the Nola Sport Porsche was already going for a spin. It collected one of the Auto Technic BMWs. Major left front damage on the 53. We'll have to take a look and see if that rejoin was the cause or if that was just coincidence. But several cars caught up in that. That was Tyler Stone, Michael Auriemma, that were definitely collected.
Yeah, I think you may be right. He was certainly off and in the weeds, but I think that incident happened slightly behind him in terms of the perspective of where he was off the racetrack and where the first incident started to develop there.
That's Auriemma trying to limp back, but a badly mangled Nola Sport Porsche Cayman, unfortunately, as a result of that contact. A frantic start to this race. Van Berlo leads from Hewitt, Wagner, Arthur, and Bohm the top 5. Then it's Garrett, Craven, Dashelski, McIntosh, and Gaples.
There's Neudorf. He's been off and on through 13 as well, so really struggling to get the handle on the Aston Martin early in this race. Full course yellow, as we'd expect. There's still some cars over there on the exit of turn 5. We've had a lot of green flag running here this year. This is not what we wanted to see, but Kai Van Berlo, you talk about finance, he has money in more ways than one. From the pole position, just seemed like to me like Wagner had a bad start. By the time they got to turn 3, he'd managed to get back on Hewitt's tail, but he did not have a great start, and it kind of bottlenecked everyone else up behind him.
Wow, what a opening lap that was. I think Judson Holt might also have been involved in that because he started well up the field and is shown down in 27th now. We know for sure that Auriemma and Stone were involved. We know as well that Neudorf had that off. Whether or not that was cause or coincidence with the incident that then transpired, it remains to be seen. But he has dropped a lot of track position in any event and finds himself down mid-pack after challenging for second in the very beginning of this race.
Well, I think with Neudorf having that off, kind of attacked that curb, couldn't control it, couldn't get the car turned into turn 5, was out in the grey. Then you saw him reappear out in the marbles there, and that can create a distraction and cause someone to brake, someone not to brake who doesn't see the incident, and that could have been the cause of this incident here.
I'll be honest, I thought the way that car speared off track that something had broken when he caught that curb, and he was just a passenger at that stage. Looks like Auriemma did not make it around either. You can see all of the left rear damage that that car has sustained. And it looked like he did go for a spin.
He was either turned or spun right in the middle of the pack there.
That was what I was wondering is, was he pushed or did he jump, right? Tyler Stone had nowhere to go. You could tell as well that the radiator of that car was punctured. It was dumping a lot of fluid as it came to a halt. Safety team already there with Michael Auriemma, and he's been told he'll take no further action in this race. He'll try and climb out of the race car. Sometimes easier said than done. He and Matthias Leist have had some solid runs this year, but not meant to be here race 1 at Sebring. Their race doesn't even last half a lap.
Yeah, you can see the position of that left rear wheel is just further back, so it's just been yanked. Bottom toe link possibly broken or something like that, or he took a clip.
Well, a lot to sift through, but the end result is full course yellow at the end of lap number 1. And Berlo, Hewitt, Wagner, the top 3 cars all in the Pro-Am class. Leader in silver, Braden Arthur. That's Kevin Bohm just behind. Pretty good opening lap for Kevin. Jumped a couple of positions to get up there to 5th on the road, and right now hot on the heels of the class leader, Braden Arthur. Laura Hayes continues to show the way in AM. She was the class pole sitter, just outside of the top 10 overall. Tell you what, that Thunder Bunny team in the 3-hour endurance race at Circuit of the Americas really flexed some muscle, and that form has carried over nicely to Sebring.
Yeah, she was amazing there. Well, the whole car, the whole effort was really strong, but she's really making a bit of a statement here early in the championship season. Amazing performance.
Agreed wholeheartedly. to be at the head of that AM class. It's a really strong AM field year in and year out.
Well, she qualified James Clay this morning by about 4 or 5 tenths, and that's saying something, because James Clay can really pedal a race car.
He's been the benchmark, part of the benchmark team over the last 3 seasons. Admittedly, they didn't win the title last year, but they had the pace last year at various times. They won the 2 previous championships in AM. So you would have to think that's who you have to go through if you're going to win a race or win a title in Pirelli GT4 America AM. Continuing behind the safety car here. Shouldn't be a lengthy cleanup, you wouldn't expect. Let's talk a little bit about this venue, Calvin. One of the classics around the world, of course, famous for the 12-hour race, but Formula One has raced here. Sports cars have become synonymous with this place. A lot of club-level racing and track days happen here. This is a track that is just soaked with history.
It really is, and you know, we talk about respecting the bumps. They're certainly there. The concrete patches, I mean, it's a 3 3/4 mile track length, with about 2.9 miles of that with concrete. The remaining 0.9 mile or whatever is with blacktop asphalt. But you know, it's just got so much character, so much grit to it, but it's got a wonderful flow. I mean, the layout is superb, just some wonderful overtaking opportunities, big brake zones, good straightaways. Blind corners like turn 1 are just so hard to execute and get right and nail. And then there's the ride through turn 17, which is legendary about the bumps going through that corner. But just getting down here into turn 7 and the rhythm through this next section, this is the short circuit that we're on, which the Indy cars tend to do a lot of their testing on. So kind of from turn 4 to turn 13 is kind of the short circuit. Then you cut back across before you get to Bishop Bend. But yeah, a lot of these drivers in the field have had a lot of success in the Sebring 12-hour, the tradition and the history of this event from that perspective. But also we've had a lot of SRO races here over the years. So even if you haven't run in the longer endurance race, you've certainly got a lot of experience now here over the years in SRO.
8 minutes into this, unfortunately, most of it has happened behind the safety car. Let's look at why we're behind the safety car. It all started there with Jonathan Neudorf. Wild ride up and over the bumps. He goes off track, and then watch for the fluorescent yellow and white Porsche of Michael Oriema, and he'll start to spin. He goes wide. He spun on his own.
Yeah, he was actually behind Neudorf a little bit, and he just spares it back across the racetrack. Nowhere to go for everyone coming through.
And Judson Holt, I don't know that he was actually involved in terms of taking damage. Same as well for Tim Savage. Pretty good evasive driving between that BMW driver and Aston driver.
Yeah, and for Holt, that's important. He's 2nd in the AM points right now, so one of our championship contenders getting wrapped up in that. But hopefully no damage. I think just maybe a delay for him.
All things considered, when you see a car spear back across the track with the traffic as condensed as it was, to come away from that with just 2 cars involved, that is about as lucky of a break as you can hope for, and that speaks to the level of awareness of the drivers back there amongst it to avoid the chaos that erupted.
Ironically, I was having a chat with Tyler Stone in the hotel last night, and he was saying he's really enjoying the season, loving SRO, but he said, I really need to work on my qualifying performance, and I think by doing that, you end up a little bit clear of some of the stuff that can happen mid-pack potentially.
Yeah, a few too many times he's been caught up in other people's problems. I think it's safe to say that was the case right there. He and Matt Millian drove together at the tail end of the year last year and formed a pretty potent pairing, all things considered. Hate it for Matt as well. A lot is riding on this season. He's been scrapping and clawing to get an opportunity like this one to showcase his skills, and it's hard to do it if the car gets taken out on lap 1. You know how that is, right? You're trying to catch the eye of a team owner or a manufacturer, and if the luck's not on your side, it's hard to send that message of just how much talent you possess.
It's really tough. It's a tough sport to succeed in. You need the opportunity. You need a little bit of luck. Really what you're mainly hoping for is no bad luck. You need to have the opportunity there to showcase your skills, what you're able to do behind the wheel of a race car, and you're just hoping that you get, you know, an even playing field. The opportunity, you know, in a race like this, you don't want it taken away with an incident this early. But certainly this is a great championship to prove yourself. There's so many talented drivers, so much history, so much success laden in. When you see some of the pros on board at the end of some of these races, it's amazing.
Amanda apparently did check in with Mad Million, who told her they need to burn some sage or something like that around their car, exercise some demons. I do know of a team that races in GT World Challenge Europe. I won't name names, but they have been known to try and invoke some magic to get results for their cars.
Well, Carl Haas, the legendary IndyCar owner, importer of Lola cars for many years, he was legendary for walking around the race car and touching every component on the suspension.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, he used to touch every part of it. And you saw guys like Mario and Nigel Mansell and stuff kind of, okay, if that's his thing. But he was a firm believer that he had to go around and touch every part. That was going to give it a good mojo for the race.
It's hard to look past their track record. I mean, that was a multi-time championship winning team with Michael Andretti and Sebastian Bourdais in the later years. I'm missing an obvious one, and I'm kicking myself here. I'll come back to me. Oh, Cristiano D'Amata. That's where I was going with it. Thank you. They won a lot of races, didn't they? Nigel Mansell won a title, didn't they? Yeah, everywhere except Indianapolis. They had some horrific luck around the speedway and then missed out on chances to win that race because of the split. But we're off-piste. It's the month of May, so open-wheel cars are on the mind. But we're under full course yellow here at Sebring. That was a two-car incident, ultimately, that brought out this yellow. Looks like the cleanup is more or less complete, because the lights are off on top of the safety car, and with 47 minutes and 30 seconds, we're about ready to get back to green flag racing.
Well, let's reset, reload, and go again. Single file restart, of course, so that should make the job of Kai Van Bolo a little bit easier. Max Stewart right behind him, and Gresham Wagner, I think he's hoping for a better start. He just looked like he stalled out a little bit, and fortunately, with his race car, was able to get sorted out by the time they got to turn 3 and settle back into the pack. For racing with 2 championship leads coming into this weekend.
Very true. Van Berlo with a masterful initial start to this race, and immediately he starts to pick up the power coming around turn 17. Here he comes, ACI Motorsports Porsche leading the way. Restart with 46 minutes, 40 seconds to go in race 1 of the weekend. Hewitt giving chase, not too far behind the car of Gresham Wagner. Braden Arthur as well, followed by Kevin Bohm.
3 wide there coming down through turn 1. Tires should have plenty of temp here, so they should have good grip to work with. Kevin Bohm there, looks like a late move down to the inside into Christensen corner.
Side by side, bold move there up the inside. It leaves the Bimmer World car a little bit out to dry. Fight at the front of the field here.
Battle for the silver lead. It's a Pro-Am car leading of Van Berlo. This is the battle for silver right behind him. Max Stewart protects down into the brake zone over Gresham Wagner, our championship leader. Kevin Bohm's done a really nice job. Moved his number 97, Random Bandles, crowd strike entry up to P4 overall and 3rd in silver. Orange and white car coming at us into Cunningham Bend.
Leaders filing through single file. Great restart from Kai Van Berlo, the Dutchman, who did his undergrad at the University of Miami in Florida, then got a graduate degree from Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee. Now looking at a career on Wall Street, but called out of retirement to jump aboard this car for a partial schedule, filling in for Luke Hartog, who's on GT World Challenge Europe duties over in his native Zandvoort this weekend.
Well, he's certainly a great sub.
Yeah.
He is a monster behind the wheel of one of these Porsches.
Knows his way around it. Teamed up with team owner Kurt Swearingen to great success a year ago, did Kai Van Berlo. Kurt speaks extremely highly of Kai. Talked about just how hard of a worker he is. even on a race weekend, the amount of work he put in studying for exams, writing term papers, things of that nature. A lot of dedication on display and a lot of talent as well.
Colin Garrett there leaping through turn 7, trying to keep the other chasing BMW behind. I think that's Sam Craven.
I think you're onto something there. Tony Gaples coming through in 10th. Strong qualifying effort for Tony. It's maybe not what he's best known for. Then behind, Swearingen fighting with James Clay. Clay is through. That is the second place car in AM at primarily gray and red BMW M4. Chasing Laura Hayes, who still leads the way in that class.
Neudorf right behind Hayes, who's probably got a fast race car if it wasn't damaged in those couple of offs that he had on the opening lap. Greenmeyer aboard the Harder Racing. Aston Martin, they had an incident early in the weekend. They had to fix the race car, but they're back up to speed, it seems like.
Certainly. Yeah, that was in testing earlier in the week. Great work by that team to make the necessary repairs and qualified just outside of the top 10 overall. The two Hannahs getting stronger and stronger. Remember, they started last season in the AM class, got bumped up to silver. So this is their first chance to really go for a title, running a full season in that same class. Still very much in the learning stages, but they've shown good pace over the course of the season so far. That's a little further back in the pack. Heart of Racing Aston, get a glimpse of it right there. Jonathan Neudorf on the recovery drive. Remember, he was challenging for second very early on, had the off-track moment, and now has recovered at least 3 positions since the restart.
He just ate up a bit too much of that curb and drop wheels there through turn 4, and that sent him for quite the ride. He's lucky escape to keep it out of the fence. Rejoined many positions down, then he had another moment through turn 13, so I'm not sure what the underside of the Aston Martin is like. See the cars that you see him pop out, some of that's just trying to pick up the draft. The other thing with this heat is trying to get some air to the front end of these race cars and get the engines cooled down.
James Clay is on a charge right now. That's his second pass this lap.
It's just Greenmeyer off the class.
Correct. But he needs to get around some of this out-of-class traffic to get closer to Laura Hayes. Now he's separated by just a single car, and that's the hard-charging Jonathan Neudorf. Here is Hayes, leader in AM, Thunder Bunny Racing, Toyota Supra.
Tony Gaples there. He's had a lot of success here over the last few seasons. One here with Max Root a couple of years ago.
Last year, I believe. That was in the Nissan because Michael Cooper was on Porsche Carrera Cup duty in Miami that weekend, so they had to draft Max Root in. I can double check, but I believe that was last season.
Laura Hayes continuing to impress. Certainly James Clay is on the charge here through the field.
Yeah, that was a season ago. A lot of change for that team. They've run 3 different cars the last 3 years. The McLaren this year, the Nissan last year, the Camaro in its final year of homologation the year before that. It's a return to McLaren, really, for the team. They spent a couple of years driving the predecessor to the Artura, the 570.
There's Laura Hayes, Thunder Bunny Racing. Toyota Supra seems to be a really solid platform. I think it's a car that gives a lot of confidence. I think in its initial iteration, it was a little bit more feisty to drive, but they settled it down with some Evo work on that car, and it seems to be a really solid car now, whoever gets behind the wheel, whether it's a pro or an AM driver like Laura. She's done a tremendous job over the last couple of weekends.
Now, this is the second Evo kit for the Supra since its debut. This Evo kit is debuting this year, actually. And part of the thought process was to help with the braking, make the braking more friendly through the ABS. And they've also done some work with the downshifting, better rev matching software on downshifts to make it faster and smoother going down through the gears, and maybe most importantly for a day like today, improved cooling relative to the predecessor.
Yeah, that's going to be really important because you're going to heat the heat of summer. Next round of our championship will be at VIR in July. We have to take a bit of a break with the CrowdStrike 24-hour race at Spa coming up at the end of June, so everyone takes a bit of a break in the action, but you know you're going to be hot and steamy there at VIR in the middle of July.
Always is. What a great track, fast and flowing. So much elevation change as well. A lot to look forward to. Not now, because of course we're embroiled in the first of 2 races this weekend here at Sebring. Van Berlo's lead now 0.8 of a second over Hewitt, who is doing a really solid job in his first run in the series, graduate of that Toyota GR Cup. That actually, this is an interesting note, Hewitt raced against Gresham Wagner and Tyler Gonzalez in that GR Cup championship over the last few years, and he's now ahead of them, and those are the 2 champions in the 2 previous years of that series.
It is, and he's got Luca Mars, young driver who's super talented, alongside him here for this weekend, and Luke was really strong in qualifying for race 2 here this weekend, so he got really great potential to have a couple of solid days.
Right now, leading the way in class, 2nd overall. It's a Pro-Am car out front, and it's worth noting that Van Berlo and that ACI team, they're effectively doing what Regulator Racing does in GT World Challenge, right? They're starting their hot shoe, while most of the Pro-Am runners are starting their bronze-graded drivers. So that opening yellow was really not what they were hoping to see.
No, you want to maximize that time, you know, get your pro just hammering laps out, try and build some cushion over the next class entry and not get it disrupted by yellow at any phase, whether it's during his stint or during your stint if you're the AM driver jumping on board.
Silver class cars, 2nd through 6th in the order. If you're wondering how to tell, up on the scoring pylon, the black number plate with white numeral, that indicates a Pro-Am car. The silver is, as you would expect, silver. The red background is AM. James Clay, by the way, is within a fraction of a second of Laura Hayes for the lead in that AM class. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but now we're watching Max Hewitt do his thing at the lead of the silver race.
Yeah, great to see so many different manufacturers, 5 manufacturers represented in the top 5 of this race at the moment. Excuse me, 4 in the top 4, 2 Astons in the top 5.
Porsche, Aston, Toyota, BMW. McLaren also shown in the top 10 overall. Got the Audi on the grid here this weekend as well. Farhan Siddiqui makes his season debut.
Here's that battle for the AM lead. James Clay from a long way back, looking down at the inside. It's a little smoother down there, not the rubber down though, so it's a compromise there with a smoother run into the brake zone, but not the grip. Someone drops a wheel there in the backdrop. Not sure if that was Neudorf again, off and on in the 3 car.
Tony Gaples holding down that 10th spot overall, just off the podium in Pro-Am. But you're right, he loves this place.
He's done a great job really setting the table nicely for his pro, Michael Cooper, to jump on board and go to work with.
Right. I mean, he's effectively 3rd on his strategy with the ACI car doing the opposite tactics of the rest of the Pro-Am field. And you know, Michael Cooper will make that car go fast. He's magic driving a GT4 car, anything really, but he's had so much success at the GT4 level over the past half-decade.
It's so exciting to think about the thought of Michael Cooper going up against Parker Thompson, for example, for those podium spots here once we get the switch, the halfway point of the race. Getting pretty close to the number now. Actually, you could be doing your pit stop here and not be outside 35-minute maximum drive time. So I think we're going to see some action on pit lane here pretty soon for anyone who started their lesser rated driver. And there you go. Tony Gaples is in, along with a number of the others.
Interesting as well, Gresham Wagner pitting from a competitive spot in the silver class, so that team electing to try to undercut, turn it over to the reigning GR Cup champion. Excuse me, the original GR Cup champion, Tyler Gonzalez, reigning champion, set to jump out. A very busy pit lane here, all of a sudden, as that window has effectively opened.
Minimum stop time is 84 seconds, so we'll look for that number when they get released from pit lane and see what their delta was.
No tire changes, no refueling in Pirelli GT4 America.
Championship leaders right here. Girazzi did another great job. Kenny Schmid jumping on board. Rafa Racing run two really competitive cars coming in, as I said, with the Silver Championship lead and the AM Championship lead for Toyota.
The bones of this operation is the old Smooge Racing team that ran with such success. John Jesbray and Kevin Conway. John Jesbray electing to focus on life outside of racing. So Kevin Conway was looking for somebody to partner with, found Rafael Martinez, who already had been operating the Rafa Racing team. What a match that has proven to be. They've had a ton of race wins in multiple championships here this year. Everyone on the right side of the minimum that has come out of the pit lane so far. Pretty good execution, actually. Don't see anyone more than a second and a half off.
Parker Thompson's car maybe a couple of tenths under.
I missed that, you're right.
84 seconds there. No, actually I'm reading the wrong column there. I think you're right, all 24 plus. Yeah, they were good, 3 tenths to the good, sorry.
And that's what you'd hope to see. Oh, problems here. Car off track, it's been in the barriers. Oh, that's Farhan Siddiqui. This is a car that just is debuting here this weekend, and it's got some significant damage. If it can't get back around, that could cause some serious strategical problems for a few of these teams. Immediately, Random Vandals has called Kevin Bowman.
Yeah.
Sam Craven comes in. Hewitt and Catania also. Van Berlo, I mean, they're committed to this strategy, so they're going to keep Kai out and hope for the best here. The good news is Siddiqui is moving, and if he can get it to a cutout, we might stay green. I think that's what he has done.
Yeah, fortunately for the teams that are staying out, you're really rolling the dice by electing to stay out, because if it does go full course yellow, pit lane would be closed momentarily until the field is picked up by the safety car, and that will just hurt you big time with many of the other teams staying on the lead lap and having their pit stop done.
Kevin Bohm giving way to Kitten Cook, going for a championship once again. Driver change complete for this car. Gresham Wagner, Tyler Gonzalez. Oh, big opposite lock moment there through turn 17. Nice save, good correction. Here come the second batch of cars to make the stops. Supra comes through. BMW will blend in, so will the Aston, but they won't be up to speed yet. Now the tires are still warm because there are not tire changes, remember, so it shouldn't take too long. It's just about getting back into a rhythm if you've been out of the car for a while.
Yes, Gonzalez there just looks like he's immediately into his rhythm, just drifting the car through turn 5 perfectly, just catching that curb right at the end. Kenan Cook has already had a pretty nice day so far, coming off a big victory for he and Connor D. Filippi in the GT World Challenge America race.
And so he has to come out of the pits immediately beyond it as
Gonzalez
goes
wide. Rare mistake.
Wow. That cost him dearly. Cook goes through. Mars goes through. I think another car might have gone through as well. Boy, don't see that every day.
Any day.
Right. And just ask his competitors in GR Cup a couple of years ago. Van Berlo remains on the track. And this is crucial for their strategy, that he builds as big of a gap as he can. Here's Laura Hayes giving way now.
It's a bit of a while for Laura to jump out of the cockpit. You got plenty of time with these stops here. 84 seconds. They're just really, it's all about the driver change, bleeding the tires down a little bit. No refueling, no tire change allowed unless you've got a damaged tire.
Alan Patton climbing aboard. Yeah, it should be fine. The minimum is not super aggressive, and you can see the car still stationary, so they feel like they still need to wait to release her or release him now in order to get to pit out in the appropriate time.
Kenan Cook couldn't believe what he was seeing right in front of him with Tyler Gonzalez. They're just drifting wide through turn 7 and getting in the dirt.
Yeah, that is a rare gift. not really one you want to be handing to Kenton Cook if you are the opposition either. He doesn't need much help as it is. Comes through across the line and now leads among the cars that have made pit stops. Alex Ellis and Parker Thompson embroiled in this battle here. Thompson in the Supra, just behind is where you find the Canadian. Ellis, who was so impressive on debut last year at Barber, if you recall, had that car immediately at the front of the field. He's had good pace this year. There have been a couple of miscues and some misfortune as well. But they're mounting a pretty decent challenge, he and his young teammate, Danny Dashelski.
Like Kai can do one more lap, then he's got to hit pit lane. I don't think there's time enough to do two, certainly. So this will be his final last lap fly here. Doesn't have really any traffic to speak of in front of him. Just a brilliant stint. It's one of the best. Sorry to see him divert his attention to another career. I understand it, but boy, he's been spectacular.
Keep joking with you off air that one of these days he'll come back, you know, in 20, 30 years, and he'll be a heck of a bronze driver for someone.
Remember that name?
Yeah.
Back in the day. It's here and now at the moment.
Well, even after the pit stops, this battle has resumed. It's now Patton and Postins going head-to-head for the lead, effective lead in AM. Two cars that either are pitting now or haven't pitted are technically shown ahead, but once everything cycles through, these will be the top two cars in their class.
Charlie Postins, James Clay coming off a nice win at Circuit of the Americas, a double points weekend as well as that being the Enduro, so that really leaped them back into championship contention. Did not have a great weekend at Sonoma, but only 13 points back from the championship lead. You talked about them earlier, Ryan, being double champions back in 22 and 23. Did not have a great 24 season, even though they saw victory lane on a few occasions.
And it was one of the case of really high highs and really low lows for them. When it went well, it went extremely well, but when it did not, something went pretty dramatically awry last year.
Charlie's got a pretty good run here, bleeds out to the inside, takes it in deep for position right now. As you said, that should become the lead eventually when everyone has made their pit stops.
I think it will now become the lead in the AM class. Yep, Postins is through to the leading class, looking for a third championship in the last 4 years. This car owes us a stop. Kai Van Berlo has
better come in now.
Gone about as far as he can without running up against the drive time rules, and as expected, dives for the pit lane. Now it is Dan Sebill's turn to take it to the finish. Just
Here we
26
go again.
minutes
This
to
battle
go.
resumes. Pan has not given up his thoughts of maintaining the lead of this motor race. Swings to the outside. Be side by side here through Fangio. Charlie have the inside line for that brake zone for Cunningham. Corner coming up next.
Postins holds on. This is nip and tuck. Meanwhile, Riley Dickinson is closing in on those two. That's the car that Kurt Swearingen started. Riley super quick, super confident. This is the driver change. Van Berlo helping to buckle in his co-driver, Dan Sebill. Graduate of Porsche Sprint Challenge Racing. So excited about this opportunity.
He's still sorting out his belts here.
Yes, he is. He's telling them on the
They're
radio
not
there's
done
something
up.
wrong.
I don't think it's hooked up. I don't think that left shoulder belt is clicked in.
Oh, no. You're exactly right. Crew member comes in to help out, but these are valuable seconds that are ticking away. Credit to Dan for recognizing it.
He's flustered.
From the lead of Pro-Am, here come the overall leaders now through. Next car in class to watch for is Parker Thompson in the Supra, and I think he'll be through before too much longer. There goes the Cayman, but boy, was that costly.
Oh, that's so disappointing after a brilliant opening stint there by the team. So Kai was away pretty early, slammed the door shut. I mean, I'm not sure what their typical strategy is with that. I think if you're there and there's anything going on, an extra set of hands certainly doesn't hurt. Maybe he felt that he clicked in those shoulder belts. Maybe when he tugged on them and tightened them up, it suddenly pulled out, wasn't clicked in correctly.
Well, for Dan, he's done a lot of single make racing, hasn't done any driver change type of racing up to this point in his career, at least at this level. Maybe he's done something at the club level I'm not aware of. But this will be something that's relatively new to him. And for Kai, you know, being in and out of the car this year, not doing the full season, that's maybe some of the perils of having that revolving door of drivers, just making sure that all the protocols are just right.
Problem is, if it goes wrong with these hands devices, you can't turn your head down enough to see. So that makes it really tricky. If you're trying to look down, you physically can't move your head down enough to get it put into the center buckle there.
And it has cost them dearly, all the way down to 21st overall. And now it's Dan up against the pros in these Pro-Am lineups. This strategy was contingent upon him having a gap to manage. That's not the way it's going to play out today. They'll have to hope for better luck tomorrow. That has promoted this car to the lead in the class, and the rapid Parker Thompson now sitting in 5th overall. But Josh Green is right there nipping at his heels. This is a guy and a name to keep in mind. Random Vandals thinks they have a diamond in the rough right here.
Yeah, Paul Sparta is really high on him. He said, watch out for this young man. He's super talented. He puts him up against Kenton Cook, who also runs on the team in terms of his speeds and abilities.
Comes out of the open wheel ladder system here in North America. Ran out of opportunities trying to get to IndyCar, got thrown a sports car lifeline, and is taking the most of it.
Luca Mars now behind the wheel of the Van der Steur Racing Aston Martin there, sitting in P2, so Kenton's got the lead right now. That's Luca Mars trying to hold off Zach Anderson. I tell you what, Zach Anderson has made some of the most creative passing moves over the last 12 months. The ones he was putting on display at VIR last year up in turn 10 was just simply incredible. And he was on the verge of a big win at that 3-hour, and that late yellow just really turned his day upside down. He lost the margin that they'd built. Then he got involved in a scenario down in turn 10, I think it was, turn 11. And had to serve a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, that was when that day came unraveled for them. There was a penalty coming for car 606 for a short pit stop. It's about a 1-second penalty. That's to the Thunder Bunny team. Second in the AM class.
Yeah, just under a couple of tenths light. So that turns into just under 2 seconds come the end of the race.
Another penalty to car 7. Or is it 07? Well, it's shown as 07. We've got a 007 and a 7, but no zeros. Oh, there is a 07. My goodness. Okay, so that's the Michael Garcia Skip Barber racing car.
Half a tenth.
Yep.
Be half a second.
We also have an incident under review, interestingly enough. Car 98, that's Michael Kanishak. AM class car shared between Kanishak and Sparta. Other car involved is the 72 of Catania, which just made an unexpected trip to the pit lane.
Schmid, I think, is 72.
I'm sorry, you're right. But Catania did make an unexpected trip to the pit lane. But yeah, that is potentially big if the 72 is deemed to be at fault.
Leaders coming
Precisely. But we don't really know what the scenario is, except that there was an incident and it's being reviewed. So it could be that it was the other way around, or perhaps it was just a racing incident. To be determined. 20 minutes or thereabouts to figure it out.
Luca Mars doing a really nice job. Tyler Gonzalez is getting back into a rhythm here. He sits there in P4 after that moment down in turn 7. Otherwise, we thought we were going to see a battle between he and Kenton for the lead of this motor race, but he's in recovery mode, our championship leader, trying to get back into podium contention. Sits just 7 tenths back as Zach Anderson.
The Catania trip to the pit lane was a drive-through. That was a pit lane speed violation, evidently. So that mystery at least has been solved.
Parker Thompson having to get pretty proactive in defending the line into turn 10 there. Josh Green, I think he may have got by him. Currently scoring is shown that there may have been a pass for that Pro-Am lead.
Interesting. Also, race control has ruled on that incident. Kanishak will have to serve the drive-through penalty, as you see on screen. And that will drop them down the order. They're having a decent day in AM. Third, I think, at the moment. But that will go away with that drive-through. That's the team car to this car right here.
So Josh Green leads from Parker Thompson. There you see the aqua blue colored Toyota now 3 or 4 car lengths back. I saw just as we cut away to some other heavy action that Parker got pretty defensive there down into Cunningham corner. I'm not sure if he just ran a little bit wide and opened up the door for the 94 to get through.
18.5 minutes on the clock. Kitten Cook's lead, 2.7 seconds. Now, a few moments ago, there was an incident. This is what the drive-through is for. Kanishak into Schmid, and the penalty has already been assessed.
Yeah, as we said, that's our championship leaders there, and it's pretty tight coming into this weekend. Just 7 points separated them from the 188. 188 of Stripling now behind the wheels, in the wars early, got involved in that moment that we saw on the opening lap going through turn 5, so they're deep in the pack right now.
Another car that served a penalty is the 007. Chris Lee shared that car with Tim Savage. This was a drive-through penalty a few moments ago, and you have to stay outside that double yellow line when merging onto the track. You can't join the racing line until that yellow line is over, and that was not the case, so a penalty was assessed and has been served. Meanwhile, Rowie Dickinson puts the pass on the leader in the AM class, so 10th overall has changed hands. Dickinson out of the Pro-Am class, just off the podium. He's sitting 4th in the car that Kurt Swearingen started, that green and white Porsche Cayman.
Yeah, he's got a lot of fast cars and fast drivers to try and get around. Josh Green has the lead right now. Parker Thompson sitting in 2nd, and it's Michael Cooper aboard the Black Dog Speed Shop McLaren who sits in that podium spot, potentially extending Black Dog's run of great results here at Sebring.
Winners last year in a much different car. In fact, it was the only win, I believe, that the Nissan scored in Pirelli GT4 America before the plug was pulled on that program. And they have those bragging rights, the folks there at Black Dog Speed Shop.
Zach Anderson there trying to carve that corner a little bit tighter there, coming under the bridge on the front straightaway, runs a little bit wider than the Aston Martin of Luca Mars right in front. Luca Mars, though, is rock solid. He's gaining more and more experience, obviously, as the years seem to fly by for this young man. But super impressive. But Zach Anderson is one of the feistiest competitors we have in this championship. And he realized that his go time, they're on the back foot a little bit after that double points paying weekend went upside down on them at Circuit of the Americas.
That is true. It's an interesting dynamic here because the Van der Stur car is not really running for points because they were racing in GT America earlier this season. This is the first weekend for that program in this championship. Meanwhile, Anderson very much thinking about points and thinking about titles. He'll look to the inside here. He gets to the inside and a little bit of contact between the two. Boy, that could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, that was good work by both those drivers. I think Luca just gave him enough room and Zach got it wheeled down just in time. Otherwise, he's going to turn him.
It's allowed Gonzalez to close in. Gonzalez trying to atone for a very rare error a little bit earlier, really at the very beginning of his stint where he went off track. It cost him the lead and quite a bit of track position within that class.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I wonder if he just got into the ABS. It's kind of lazy the way he got out wide there. It didn't look like there was any drama, and then just suddenly it's like, wow, he's off the road. And sometimes if you just activate that ABS as you're turning, it's just going to reduce the braking pressure so you don't lock up a front wheel. And he just got wide and could never recover.
Ooh, little wide there as well for Luca Mars. Does that leave him vulnerable? Anderson has closed back in again. Needs to get a good run out of 16, but it looks like it was a decent recovery for Mars there, able to pull a gap.
Josh Green is absolutely flying there in the Pro-Am lead. Both he and Parker Thompson just laid down their fastest laps of the race.
Yeah, this is about to get a bit awkward for Green because he is having to push that hard because Thompson is going as fast as he is, and he's about to run into this silver class battle.
Yeah, and they're not going to want to give up anything.
No.
They don't want that battle interrupted, particularly for Zach Anderson, who's got his thoughts on, moving up a spot on the podium, seeing if he can chase down Kenton Cook aboard a similar BMW.
Well, and don't forget about Michael Cooper also, who is turning some really quick lap times in his McLaren. If these two get caught behind these silver class cars as they're fighting with one another, then that should very much bring Michael into the conversation.
Yeah, there's some really quick cars inside that top 10. Riley Dickinson he's got the fastest lap of the race by a few hundredths. So I scanned down deep in the pack, Mark Miller.
Wow.
On a 2:12.4 aboard the 37 machine.
That's a big lap from Mark. No surprise to see him do it. He's got plenty of experience, plenty of speed, but that's a relatively young program, although it's staffed by a lot of veterans there at Dome Motorsport. If you walk by, I suspect you'll recognize quite a few of the crew members there.
Yeah, really good group.
This was a big moment out of the pits.
Oh, I think he had a lap on board. He pitted a lap earlier, if you recall. I think Gonzalez had been out, and then he got down into turn 7. Kenton had just come out of the pit lane.
Yeah, you're right. Keep an eye on the Supra here, pushing into turn 7, going wide.
I think he just got into the ABS. You could see a little puff of smoke. They're not going to just lock up and go straight with big streaks, but it looked like he just got in too deep, just missed his braking point by maybe a car length. He couldn't recover it.
Here comes Green, catching the back of this silver class battle.
Yeah, and Parker Thompson can see this, and he's probably licking his chops right now, sitting there in the aqua blue colored Supra, thinking this is great for me. I seem to have very similar pace to Green. He got by me, he's gapped me by about a second, but he's now got to deal with these cars that aren't exactly slow, but he's got a bit more pace, and I think that's going to create a concertina effect here and compress this battle for the lead in Pro-Am.
First target is Gonzalez. How will Tyler play this? He's trying to catch up to those two cars ahead of him who are in his class. A little bit of debris just on the edge of the racetrack. Will accumulate over the course of an hour-long race, especially as close as the competition can be in GT4 racing. Got to look at exactly what caused that debris to end up there. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a wild ride, kept it together, but obviously the underside of the race car has taken a hammering there and distributed some body parts on the racetrack.
I think that was Michael Garcia in the Skip Barber racing car.
Hey, Luca Mars is doing a great job. As we said, Zach Anderson, if there's an opportunity, if there's even a chink in his armor, he's going to go for it immediately. And so far, he's just been sitting there trying to analyze, is there a weak point? Is there a difference between my BMW and this Aston Martin where I can make the move?
Well, if you remember, Luca did the season in GT World Challenge America last year in the pro class, driving with Zach Veach for Racer's Edge. Finished third in points. They didn't win a race, but they were on the podium 8 times. That said, I think the most impressive performance from Luca Mars last year was during the Indy 8 Hour. He came out of a stint just ahead of Lucas Stoltz, Mercedes factory driver, and held him off for the better part of an hour. That was really eye-opening to the level of talent that the native of Sewickley, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, has at his disposal.
Yeah, and I think for a young driver, that just gives you great confidence to feed off during the off-season when you realize you were going up against a factory driver you have the whole station with him. You just sit on that. It really just motivates you to keep training and doing everything in your toolbox to make it a little bit sharper.
Won a GT4 championship last year in basically the IMSA equivalent of GT America, single driver sprint race format. Did Luca Mars. Did that in a Ford Mustang. He's actually driven a wide variety of cars in a short amount of time. Prototype LMP3 cars, front wheel drive TCR cars, a bunch of different GT4 cars, plus the GT3 Acura NSX last year. He's been quick in all of them. Really impressive.
What a day potentially here for Kenton Cook and the whole Random Vandal squad, coming off that brilliant GT World Challenge America win with Connor De Filippi just about an hour ago. Literally, he was spraying champagne. Probably didn't drink any of it, but getting ready for this race. Just been impeccable as normal.
Yeah, this is a good battle we're watching, but we have to remind ourselves it's happening 6 seconds behind Kenton Cook. Such is the level of control that he has exerted over this field. And it really all started when Tyler Gonzalez had that off that we looked at a few moments ago. That effectively gave the lead to this car, and Kenton Cook has not looked back.
Yeah, and I'd have to say, when you look at the performance of Tyler Gonzalez there, he's running 4th in silver. You got Parker Thompson, 2nd in Pro-Am. They've run competitive lap times, but it doesn't seem like that car this weekend has that little edge. I think there's quicker cars in the field suited to Sebring.
Paul Sparta on the left will take some solace in the fact that even if his race is not going according to plan after that drive-through for Michael Kanishak, 2 of his cars are in position to have good days in the other classes, leading in the other 2 classes, in fact. Plus the win earlier today and a double podium, too, in the Pro Class in GT World Challenge America. Saw Connor De Filippi sitting there on the pit stand watching on. He, along with Kenton Cook, part of that crew that won overall earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, and Bill Oberlin and Varun Choksi filling out the podium. So 2 cars finishing 1st and 3rd. So really strong day for the group. They're learning a lot rapidly with that GT3 machine.
Michael Cooper, new fastest lap of the race, 2:12.291.
Ooh, that's making a statement.
Yeah, not much that really comes close, quite frankly. I'm seeing a couple 2:12s.
He's 2.5 seconds back to Parker Thompson for that final, or for the 2nd spot, excuse me, in Pro-Am. And he's got enough time on the board with that sort of delta.
Yeah, because they've caught the back of the silver class front runners like we talked about, like we forecasted. Josh Green, 0.3 of a second behind Gonzalez. Thompson not too far behind Green, and Cooper closing in on the pair of them with 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, and you're looking at probably 3 laps to go once we get to the stripe next time by. And that last lap, he was 9/10 quicker and sits 2.2 seconds back, so it's amazing in these conditions. We saw it with Philip Ellis in the GT World Challenge America race, running fast laps at the very end of a 50-minute stint. And we're seeing Michael Cooper on Pirelli P0's run fastest lap of the race, 50 minutes plus into this race.
Just did the overall best first sector this lap. This is the car we're talking about. The appropriately orange, dare I say papaya, McLaren Artura.
Appropriate. Piastri sits on the pole for the Grand Prix at Imola tomorrow morning, so McLaren's certainly making some waves in all forms of competition.
At least one McLaren, looks like 2 right now, would be in the pole shootout for the Indy 500 as well. Pato Award and Christian Lundgaard.
Here we go. Parker Thompson. Make this move, try and stay in touch here with Josh Green up ahead.
Yeah, this is a big move there to get that buffer.
Yeah.
Now will there be cooperation from the 2 Toyota camps? Different teams. Meanwhile, Anderson showing some patience. There was that brief moment of contact, 10-15 minutes ago. But overall, pretty good. Close but respectful racing.
Asked a bit too much of the race car on the tires there this late in the going. Just really try to roll a little bit more minimum speed through turn 5. Lost the front end momentarily. Up on the curb and immediately loses a car length or two.
This has been really impressive from Mars, playing defense for basically the entirety of his stint. First time with this team. To do some checking. He's driven this Aston before.
Yeah, just rock solid performance. Josh Green there, looking so good, leading Pro-Am, now 4th overall. He's got Tyler Gonzalez, almost like a wingman for him. Back to Parker Thompson. You saw Parker Thompson flashing his headlights, trying to give Tyler Gonzalez, listen, let me go. You're not really in the battle for that podium right now up ahead. Doesn't look like you have the pace. He had an opportunity there, but it's kind of gone away as quick as it came.
Yeah, and speaking of arriving quickly, here's Michael Cooper. He has caught Parker Thompson. So the two Supras not playing nice with one another, and that has allowed the McLaren to enter the conversation here, fighting for second in Pro-Am. Here he is.
Michael Cooper took 1.4 seconds out of the gap on Thompson on the last lap alone. He is absolutely flying. Time is probably not on his side in terms of the victory, but who knows?
This is the fastest car on track over the last half dozen laps or so. Thompson forced to go on the defensive. Cooper, a wider approach to the final turn, tucks it down to the inside, doesn't have much of a gap, but he's going to go for it anyway.
Wow.
That was a wild ride over the bumps. Cooper couldn't get alongside the Supra. Fight for 6th and 7th overall, but this is for 2nd and 3rd in class.
So tough to make happen. You run that really tight radius. You're trying to get to the power a little bit earlier than the car on the wider radius. So easy to suddenly loosen the car up and turn it.
Cooper looking one side now to the other, gets to the flank of the Supra. Thompson leaves it just a little bit of room, but not quite enough. They do make contact.
Great recovery.
Save.
Great recovery by Parker Thompson there. That was so subtle, but awesome.
Oh. Two drivers at the top of their game.
He is feeling the heat here.
So is Mars. Has to defend this time into the hairpin.
Cooper looks to the inside. Doesn't look like he's strong enough there down that little straightaway into turn 7. Parker eases back across on line with no drama. Where does Cooper have the speed? He certainly got to him in a hurry. So easy to suddenly just get into the same sort of dynamic of the car in front of you. You've got to really use your advantage quickly. Otherwise, you start driving through the corners with the same minimum speed if you're not careful. You need to run up on them and pounce immediately.
Murray is close. Time running out. It'll be white flag next time by, so effectively a lap and a half for Michael Cooper to get this move made on Parker Thompson. 2nd and 3rd in Pro-Am. Kitten Cook continues to lead now by nearly 9 seconds ahead of Luca Mars. That's the Aston we just got a glimpse of coming through the shot. Leader in Am is still Charlie Postins. Thunder Bunny still running in the 2nd place in class. Denny Stripling and Judson Holt would be 3rd as they run. Thompson feeling the heat down the Ullman Straight.
Yeah, he is, and let's not forget that Michael Cooper and Tony Caples are 2nd in the points chase, but a solid 24 points back of Tyler McQuarrie and Walker, who won at Circuit of the Americas with that double points weekend. So that's why that gap got ballooned up a little bit.
Final lap of the race here at Sebring. Kenton Cook in firm control overall, but 2nd and 3rd hang in the balance in both the silver class and in Pro-Am. Here's the battle in Pro-Am. Thompson in the Supra, Cooper in the McLaren, roaring through turn number 1.
Yeah, it looks like Parker's maybe stemmed the tide a little bit here, got into his rhythm. He's got a little bit of confidence going as well, because Michael was all over him at one stage, probing. Looked like he had the advantage every single corner around this racetrack, but look at this compression. Luca Mars feeling the heat from Zach Anderson. Josh Green sitting there. He doesn't want to get involved in any feistiness here. He still has the Pro-Am lead by about 3 seconds. Back to Parker Thompson, of course.
Anderson late on the brakes, but can't get alongside the Aston. Tries to cross over young Luca Mars, but has the nose chopped off. Mars hanging tough, fending off a championship contender, perennial championship contender in Zach Anderson.
What is Zach Anderson thinking? Luca to the middle of the road. Anderson, going to be tough to make that work on the outside of turn 10. Gives him a little nudge as they exit Cunningham Corner.
His co-driver is a short track ace. Maybe he learned a couple of lessons on the bump and run. Anderson lets it drift wide, rolls in deep to the outside of the Supra. This is really tight. They're side by side, and the track comes back the way of Anderson here in just a moment, but it looks like that Aston has the legs. He's able to pull back ahead.
That was critical. He just had an extra car length there on the straightaway and now accelerated him by the time they got to the next apex, because otherwise Anderson looked like he had the car in really good track position. Anderson swings wide. He's going to try and straighten his hands, get on the power early. But I think that Aston may have a little bit more horsepower. Let's see how it shakes out here. Final run down to Sunset Bend.
Anderson gets a good run, and he's got a BMW colleague behind who I thought might have given him a bump draft, but instead Green is going to go for it. They make it 3 wide, headed to Sunset. At the front, Kenton Cook makes it 2 for 2 on the day. He wins in Pirelli GT4 America and GT World Challenge America. Battle on further back. Green is through. He's headed to the win in the Pro-Am class. And how about Luca Mars? He hangs on, as does Thompson, fending off Cooper at the stripe. Random Vandals wins in silver. They win in Pro-Am. And now we wait for Charlie Postins, the leader in the AM class, back in 12th overall, but in solid possession of the lead in his category.
Kevin Boehm celebrates. What a day for that group. They needed it.
Postins across the line. He does take home the win in AM. The 2-time champions back to their winning ways here at Sebring International Raceway. Well, Kenton Cook dominated this race. He and Kevin Boehm, after that pit stop, a 12-second margin of victory, but behind him, talk about fireworks. Josh Green made it interesting there. 3 wide, passing 2 cars not in his class in the final corner of the final lap. It does mean he finishes 2nd overall, and it might have helped Luca Mars hang on.
It did. I'm not sure I'd be putting on the line. Like, he made it work, obviously, and congratulations to him, but that's very risky there when you got the class lead with no pressure directly from behind and getting mixed up in that.
I thought he was going to bump draft the BMW ahead, to be entirely honest.
Pushing through, yeah. Big swing, though, in the points with the 97 car winning. The championship leaders, 68, down in 4th in class. That's a 13-point swing, and the 97 came in with a 15-point deficit.
Wow.
That really tightens things up heading into tomorrow.
Sure does. How about it for Charlie Postins and James Clay? James had a good opening stint.
2 on the bounce.
Yep.
They're coming back.
That's a scary thought for the rest of the class. Pro-Am winners, also from the Random Vandals stable. I saw Sam Craven celebrating there, along with Kevin Boehm. But it was Josh Green who did the yeoman's work in the 2nd stint. What a star they might have uncovered.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Car looked quick too, didn't it?
It did.
Seemed like Anderson didn't quite have the straightaway speed of maybe the other BMWs. I'm not sure what that's all about.
Interesting question to ask.
I mean, just a sniff.
Sure.
But that made the difference.
Still, solid day for them, and they needed to have just a nice, clean podium run. They did so. Keeps them in that championship conversation. Michael Cooper as well, showcasing some serious speed late in that race. 2:12, 2:91,
Yeah.
best lap of the race.
He was coming like a freight train, but then Parker just hung on there, and then it kind of plateaued a little bit, didn't it? It looked like Michael lost the edge right over the last couple of laps. As I said, sometimes you come up to people and it's like, you think, oh, it's a no-brainer, you're just going to blow by them, and then you kind of get stymied, and then suddenly you lose the little edge. Maybe the car's not as good directly right behind, or you're just over the peak of the tires. But great performance nonetheless by Tony Gaples and Michael Cooper. Really, really solid day for them. They're definitely in the championship mix.
No question about it. Tony's been smiling broadly every time I've seen him this year, really loving the package that they've put together. Your race winners in race 1 at Sebring, Kevin Bohm, Kenton Cook, overall and in silver. In Pro-Am, Sam Craven and Josh Green. Am Class 2, Charlie Postins, James Clay, Favorite World Racing. How about that? BMW, a sweep of all 3 classes here at Sebring. That is some nice bragging rights. And remember, there is a global GT4 Manufacturers Championship this year, too. Big points there for BMW. Here are the results. Bohm and Cook ahead of Craven and Green by over 12 seconds, but look how close it was behind. Hewitt and Mars in their debut in the championship. Really strong performance there to come home second in the silver class. Nora Hayes, Alan Patton showing strength again for Thunder Bunny Racing. Second place in the AM class. And overcoming a penalty, Alex and Michael Garcia, the 2 brothers, put together a good performance. That's a couple of local kids done good, right? They're from Florida, lots of track time here at Sebring. Good podium for them in front of friends and family.
Good recovery too for the 188 machine. Holt and Stripling, they got involved in that first lap chaos. Solid top 5 there.
Yeah, keeps them in the hunt as well. Kenton Cook celebrating in victory lane for the 2nd time today. Not bad at all. 2 different cars, of course, the GT3 version and now the GT4 of the BMW M4. I think that's maybe what's most impressive, the way he came out of the pit lane, his first laps in this car having just been in the GT3 car, and immediately he knew where the limit was in the new car and was right on the pace.
Yeah, I think he was just settling in, and then he saw suddenly Gonzalez make that little mistake, and he thought, I'll have that, and then just settled in and just took off. Just no drama, no fuss. What a day.
His team has had to overcome a few things. Had an AC compressor explode in practice 2.
When I saw you coming down pit lane, I was like, oh, he got by him.
And they were able to overcome all of that and end up in victory lane, where they have now the chance to talk to Amanda.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're recapping this race today, and just to come back from the 3-hour in Coda, and not a great weekend for you guys, Kevin, but to come back and be on the top step. You said, talking about your stint of the race, you had to leave a nice BMW for Kenton, and I believe you did. How'd you do it?
Well, I mean, it's tough when you're trying to stay in touch with the leaders, and you got to kind of just feel it out. And the track was slippery, and just trying to figure out how much could I get away with without it kind of falling off a cliff. And I think I felt that pretty good and started making some moves. And then my stint kind of went by really fast, and got to give it to Kenton and watch what he does best.
Ken, my mind reminded me that I had talked to you 2 times in one day, and I verified with your wife, and I said it was VIR, wasn't it? Yes, 2 years ago, in the best way possible. How exhausted are you right now?
Let's do it again tomorrow. Yeah, not exhausted. Thankfully, the AC works quite well in these things. Yeah, very thankful for BMW on making an AC system. So we got a fresh compressor in there as well. I saw you guys showed some of that. So that worked fairly handy today. But man, this guy had a heck of a pass there on the in-lap. I was like watching pit lane, and I was like watching him, waiting for him to come in, and he was by the ass, and I was like, whoo! Like, that makes my life a lot easier, so thankful. But it was a good strategy call for us to stay out when the others boxed, and yeah, kind of got lucky on the outlap with the Supra having a little bit of a miscue in 7. It looked like there was something down or something, because I almost went with him. So thankful for the Vandals, and here we are.
And now you can drink champagne.
Yes, now we can drink champagne.
Congratulations to them. Well done.
So insight there on Gonzalez.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Gonzalez was probably pushing a little bit deeper. He had that lap underneath him, whereas Kent was just trying to get into his rhythm, and that may have saved him, in fact, of being not so committed down into that brake zone.
And indicated there was something on the track there, at least briefly, that might have helped to cause Gonzalez to have that moment. And I mean, we were as stunned as anybody to see Tyler have it off. He just doesn't make mistakes like that, so that goes a long way to explaining that rarity.
Absolutely. I'm not sure the Gonzalez car, the Refa Racing machine, had the ultimate pace anyway. I think it was going to be a tough battle for them to hang on to the win, but he's a monster behind the wheel. If he had the track position, you know he's going to go for it.
This was the final lap. Look at Josh Green making it 3 wide here, passing 2 cars that are fighting for position in a class that he is not a part of.
Yeah, that was wild to put it all on the line like that, the class victory. But he wanted it in a bad way. I think for Zach Anderson, he thought that was going to create an opportunity, but Luca did a really nice, solid job of hanging on to P2.
Chance to hear from the Pro-Am winners now. Amanda Busick is in victory circle.
And their second win on the season. And Sam, I was talking to Paul Sparta. He told me, he was like, this is the super fast, crazy bronze that I know. How much was that on display today?
That was really kind of him. I'm doing the best that I can. It's happy to be talking to you again. Last time I started crying because this was this was a culmination of a lifelong goal. I used to be a mechanic working on these race cars, and to be able to compete with this guy and for him to make it. I'm not doing it. I'm starting to. I'm not doing it again, but to be able to compete with him and for him to be able to coach me and help me be as fast as I am is incredible.
And Josh, I also talked to Paul Sparta about you today, and he called you a mini Kenton, and he has so much expectation for you. How much of a compliment is that?
It is a really big compliment. I do definitely look up to Kenton, but I would like to be myself at the end of the day. I do want to say a big thank you to Imperium and Garage Eastie for the only reason we're able to be at the track, and all the guys and the Vandals. I did hear the commentators talking at the end there about my move, making it 3 wide. I will say it was risk assessment. It was risk assessment. I thought about it, and I got such a big run that I knew I was going to clear them by the end of the straight, so I was like, I might as well do it. I mean, the whole race, I was managing the gap to them. Our race car had so much pace. So I was comfortable just hanging there, and then once it all happened and I saw the cars coming behind, I was like, I got the run, I might as well go, and I went, so.
Congratulations, guys. I'm just going to sneak right through you and talk to our AM winners here, coming off of their win at the 3 hours. Keep on rolling. How in championship form is this team, Charlie?
We're in championship form. We're on a roll. Let's see what tomorrow brings, but the car's feeling great, the team's clicking, awesome. And it's Jason Marks' birthday, so here's to the crew chief.
Well, happy birthday. That's a nice win. And you told me that your stint was short, so hopefully we get a little more action in your half tomorrow. What did you learn today?
I learned it's actually hotter in the pits than it is the race car, so I'm sure about that. Charlie's complaining a lot. I don't see what the problem is, but no, it was a great race, and I had fun out there, but obviously I had the yellow, so it was a little bit shorter than I would have wanted. Charlie drove an awesome race, and I think we've got a car that's great in the sun, so we're going to be in the heat of it tomorrow, so we'll see.
2 out of the last 3 championships, looking for 3 out of 4.
Yeah, they're in fine form, as you heard Charlie Poston say. Back to Josh Green's comments, Calvin. There's a certain Brazilian racing driver that you used to compete against who's famous for saying, if you see a gap and don't go for it, you're no longer a racing driver. We saw that on display, didn't we?
We did. He just analyzed it. He had such a head of steam with kind of a double draft there, and saw the opportunity and didn't realize he's managing his pace as much as he was. He's obviously just looking in his rearview mirrors there and seeing where Parker Thompson was. Easy to see that bright blue Supra, but beautiful move, and congrats to him for pulling it off.
One of the 2 of us in this booth have beaten Ayrton Senna in a motor race, and it's not me.
I haven't won an Indy, though.
That's true. Yeah. I've got that bit of bragging rights. All right, with that, day number 1 of racing, really day 2 actually, with TC America having started yesterday, is complete. And before we say so long, a look back on race 1. This is how it started. Race number 1 for Pirelli GT4 America. Big moment here. Michael Oriema, a spin across the track. It collects Tyler Stone. 2 cars eliminated, leads to the safety car. Upon the restart, good battle for the lead in the AM class. Laura Hayes and James Clay got it started. Charlie Postons and Alan Patton would finish it. Pit strategy seemingly was going to be a big storyline, but a problem with the belt for the leading car led to a long pit stop and a lengthy delay. Big spin there for one of the leading contenders in the AM class championship. Another car involved was penalized. This was for 2nd and 3rd in the silver class. Luca Mars was under duress the bulk of his stints. Michael and Alex Garcia losing a little bit of bodywork there with that off-track run. Able to continue on, however, did still secure a podium. But at the front of the field, Kenton Cook was untroubled. His lead grew up over 12 seconds in the final analysis. His fights broke out elsewhere for the podium spots in both silver and Pro-Am. Late lunge here from Anderson. He was running out of time, tried to make it work, was able to get alongside the Aston of Mars, but ultimately Mars just a little too much pace, able to get back in front and held him off. Kenton Cook crossed the line first, his second win on the day, coupling with the GT World Challenge America win. 3 wide into the final turn on the final lap. Josh Green takes second overall, and it also helped Luca Mars hang on for second in silver, just barely keeping Zach Anderson in check. Wow, what a finish that was. Michael Cooper came up a little bit shy in his pursuit as well of the second place. Parker Thompson able to hang on in Pro-Am. That's it for race number 1. Race 2 comes your way Sunday from here in Sebring.